It's the latest in American weaponry that Kyiv always wanted and that the U.S. eventually, reluctantly, agreed to provide.
It's a decision that required a real hard look at the potential harm to civilians.
Cluster munitions are bombs that open in midair and release scores of smaller bomblets, especially effective over large areas. But it's difficult to control where each bomblet falls, and the bomblets that don't immediately detonate, the duds, can still explode years later. The Biden administration says it will provide Ukraine with cluster munitions that have a failure rate of less than 3%, far lower, it says, than the dud rate of Russian cluster munitions. And the administration says Ukraine has provided written assurance that it will use the cluster bombs in a way that minimizes risk to its own citizens.
Mr. President, cluster munitions, why now?
We've run out of ammunition.
President Biden said Friday that Ukraine was running out of ammunition and that cluster munitions were needed to bridge the coming gap in artillery. Dozens of nations around the world banned the use of cluster munitions, but Biden said he consulted with NATO allies about the decision.
And many of them publicly over the course of today that they understand our decision and fundamentally that they recognize the difference between Russia using its cluster munitions to attack Ukraine and Ukraine using cluster munitions to defend itself, its citizens, and its sovereign territories.
Last year, when the U.S. learned that Russia was using cluster munitions in Ukraine, the White House called that a possible war crime. But the reality and the urgency on the Ukrainian battlefield right now has apparently changed some minds. Andy Roesgen, TRT World, Washington.